Yeah,
So you only got
because we have enough for the remaining rest of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Brenna and Lori's joining.
And Donna.
And Donna, Lori's mom, or Chris.
Oh, is that who?
Brenna and Lori, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Brenna can?
Here.
Awesome. We hear
clear.
you too.
I think Teddy Jack heard that from his house. Okay, everybody ready? We'll call this meeting to order dated September 5th, 2023. The time is now 7:21. Roll call, please.
Trustee Wolf.
Here.
Trustee Hartz.
Here.
Trustee Thomas.
Here.
Trustee Ah.
Here.
Trustee Moreland.
Here.
And Trustee Cesaro.
Here.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Here. All right, will you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Funky. All right, does the board have any conflicts of interest to announce at this time? Seeing none, we will move on to general public input. If any members of the audience have anything they would like to address with the board, not on the agenda, you can step forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Lucy Stewart. I live at 128 North Appaloosa in Bayfield. And I'm just making a request. If you guys can speak up a little clearer and a little bit loud would help, because you're being muffled in the back that we cannot figure out what you guys are saying. I really would appreciate that. Right? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on. Speaking of the, oh, we do. You know the drill.
Matt Nyberg, 517 Dove Ranch Road. I just came to listen to the budget and the shortfall and the sales tax. And my question is, if the sales tax doesn't pass, what's Plan B? Because history says when the library came to vote on, it didn't pass the first time. The road tax didn't pass the first time. So I think it would be diligent to make sure that if this doesn't pass, what's Plan B? Because, you know, there's a lot of chatter out there already about, well, if the town has a shortfall already, why would we vote on a sales tax? So I think that's going to be something that you're going to be up against. And then just to bring to your attention that if this is voted on tonight, the ordinance, there are platforms of social media that certain town employees are also using. So I think that they also have to be reminded that they can't promote and they kind of have to silence themselves. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, the agenda, I would make a motion to approve it, but remove item A, C, and D from the agenda.
What number?
Yeah, it's
You said AC and.
8, C, and D.
Oh,
Sorry,
Yeah.
I thought you said A.
misunderstood.
Oh, it's on the next page, you gotta flip over. Our agenda is very long.
Okay.
I'll second that.
I need
Oh, I thought you said I make a motion.
I need somebody to make a motion here.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as with the omission of 8A, C, and
8, C, and D.
8C and D.
I'll second that.
All right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Harts,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, we have a few presentations today for you. This time I'd like to welcome up the San Juan National Forest, the Columbine Ranger District Housing presentation.
Got a few handouts for you all. Made it in, and this one are basically 3 and 2, so.
Thank you.
You all can split these if you want them. Got a few extras to hand out. All right, so I'll keep it short. I know you have a long agenda. Katie asked me to come in and briefly update you on what some of our discussions around housing have been with the Forest Service. Obviously, we've been in Bayfield a long time. Our challenges are the same as the rest of the municipalities around here with housing and recruitment and the cost of housing, and our jobs not paying enough to have people be able to afford housing. That's one of our challenges. In addition to that, we've outgrown our office, and our office is starting to become dilapidated and we're having serious maintenance issues. We actually have a bat removal person coming in next week to remove our bat infestation that we have in our offices. So we're in a pretty poor state right now with our offices. And our housing that we have available for our seasonals is mostly located over in Durango and up at Vallecito. So we have really limited housing options. So some of the, what I came to present to you today on was one of the options that we're looking into, which is our Flexible Partnership Act. So Section 8623 of that act basically allows the Forest Service to enter into long-term leases on administrative sites. What we're looking at right now is we own a piece of property called Cole Ranch, about 11 miles from Durango and from Bayfield. It's right in the middle. And we are right now currently looking into the opportunity perhaps of having some low-income housing on the back section of that property. In turn, as you can see next, is the in-kind services and construction. This we see as a means to an end to potentially be able to build a new office. So part of this equation, of course, is where our Bayfield property comes in and what we do with that if this were all to go through. And so anyways, I wanted just to present this leasing option to y'all to first introduce the conversation of the potential of a relocation for us, but also just so you know that this authority exists out there for us to be able to do long-term leasing on administrative sites, which the Bayfield location that we have is an administrative site. So in here you can see that we're limited to 40 acres. It's not a real big challenge. That's about what we have at Cole Ranch. There's a first right of refusal here. So basically, we look to the county and municipalities first for first right of refusal on leasing of these properties. And then I will touch on quickly that this authority actually expires October 1st. This is tied to the Farm Bill. So if you're following the Farm Bill in Congress, there's a lot of things tied to the Farm Bill that are super important, this being one of them. This authority does expire, but it is introduced to Congress to be reauthorized. So I guess I'm telling you that we're very hopeful and we believe it's going to go through and be still an option after October, or else I wouldn't be here telling you about it. So one project, a pilot project on the Dillon Ranger District, I'll just mention on the White River, where they have a really obviously a real crunch on housing. They're actually putting in 162 housing units on about 11 acres, and then they're doing the same. Well, they'll still have an administrative facility within that 11 acres. What we're looking at out at Cole Ranch, we have just over 40 acres out there, and so the things that we're starting to entertain, and we went to the Regional Housing Authority to ask for a feasibility analysis of that property in partnership with the county. So what we're looking into there right now is just the initial, what would it actually take to develop the Cole Ranch property into housing and to an office. So everything's really in the initial stages, but I did want to make y'all aware of this authority and also the conversation around the potential of us relocating to Cole Ranch if all of this actually went through. That being said, what needs to actually happen at Cole Ranch is an amazing feat. There's no turn lane there. There's no water there. There's a lot of big things that need to occur at Cole Ranch to make that site feasible for housing. That housing, at this point, we're not certain of what the extent of that housing will be as far as availability to public versus municipalities, government agencies, and those things. So far in our conversation, there's been a lot of need expressed from the different local municipalities, as well as sheriff's departments, the counties, FAA, APHIS. I could go on with a list of federal employee jobs around here that are struggling to purchase homes, and therefore we're not filling positions. So anyways, I just wanted to present this all to you and let you know that this exists. Things are still up in the air. When my staff asked me how soon I think anything would happen, my answer is like 5 years. And that's really hopeful in my mind. But I wanted to put this in front of y'all and, just let you know. So, Katie, I don't know if you had any other.
I do have a
points.
question. I know that during the fires that we've had here locally, I know that, we can see the trucks, but where are they housed? Is it temporary housing, or is there another option that they're housed?
Well, we actually have people who live in their vehicles at this point, out on Forest and bounce around. We also have folks who live in our bunkhouses out on the East Animas Road and drive all that way over to Bayfield every day. And then the rest of our local folks are scattered throughout the community, of course, for those who are fortunate enough to buy when they can still afford to live here. So our real challenge is like recruitment at this point and filling positions with the market and the interest rates and everything else. Our positions don't pay enough to support those mortgages, which is common throughout. When you see the flush of people coming in for fire response, those folks are either camping out in the woods in our fire camps, or else they're hoteled up and they're on per diem. So it's one of the two when you see the big flush of folks come in. We don't have to house all those people when they come to help us, luckily. But we do need to house the people we have. And our office, we've outgrown our office. We have no space. So currently, I have about almost 20 people that report to Vallecito, to our work center up there every day. That's their duty station because we don't have seats for them here in Bayfield. I also have staff that are based out of Durango now because we don't have seats in Bayfield. So anyways, this is kind of the office need part of the conversation. So.
And the ultimate goal would be to vacate the Bayfield office, or would you have this as a satellite facility? That's what you're talking about.
We're still kind of in the planning phase of this, whether we'd have some office front in Bayfield, whether we would sell the property, whether we'd enter into a long-term lease agreement with someone on the property and they could build the housing. There's options still out there. At this point, what we do know is that if we tear down all of the buildings on our lot, we cannot build a big enough building to house everyone we have, plus our vehicle needs and everything else. We ran into issues with parking. We were parking folks across the street, and that got shut down. It's been a nightmare, to say it lightly. So, I guess the jury's still out. There's options.
So then the other question I had, the RHA, we are I am aware, I think the RHA became aware that the federal government or you cannot actually ask for the feasibility study. You're asking the RHA to do a feasibility study on their coal ranch. And would that include a feasibility study? Was there consideration for a feasibility study for the property here in Bayfield for housing as well?
So that wasn't part of the proposal, and quite frankly, it probably should have been. However, I guess we still don't know the desire of other folks for that to be a leasing option. We would not vacate that likely it would be a sequence of things. So we would have to have a plan to go to Cole Ranch before we knew we were gonna vacate, and then a feasibility would be done on the Bayfield location, is I think how that would work, because it's such a domino effect, and we don't even know if we're gonna get to Cole Ranch.
And so part of that would be that the town of Bayfield is an eligible applicant for a feasibility study. And that would be something that the Board of Trustees may consider, basically to advance housing, basically for the workers that are here, or Cole Ranch. Obviously, the county would probably be the applicant for Cole Ranch, and the town of Bayfield could probably be the applicant for a feasibility study. And of course, there'd be cooperation from your district office, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. So it gets into a really weird situation when we start asking for things to get done. And so the county actually approached us, and we started down this road. So yeah, the county is going to put forward the proposal, or has put forward the proposal to the Regional Housing Authority to carry that feasibility assessment. So yes, if the city of Bayfield town of Bayfield wanted to proceed with that, that would be an option through the Regional Housing Authority. And that's all I had. My contact information's on the bottom there, as well as my supervisor, Dave Neely, who's wasn't able to make it, but he really wanted to come tonight. So anyways, yeah, if there's any, I don't know if you have any further questions for me?
No, unless the board does. I appreciate you coming out, because we were first kind of introduced from the county commissioners about this project, and, we'll just keep us posted.
Yep.
About the October decision and moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the Imagine Library grant request.
Hello, so I'm Sarah Mummert. I run the Imagination Library local chapter here in Bayfield. So we've got, I'm going to try and go through it kind of fast, but I do have a little slideshow for you guys. So, I don't know if you got a clicker, or should I just let you know?
You'll have to go that direction.
Okay.
There she is.
Let you know. So if you want to move to the next slide, then, so basically the way Imagination Library works is parents can fill out a form either online or on paper to enroll their child. It's any child under 5 in an area with a local affiliate. And then within 6 to 8 weeks, their child will start to get books in the mail. There's absolutely zero cost to the families. And then they will continue to get a book in the mail each month until they turn age 5. And once they turn age 5, they get the final book. They graduate out of the program. It's called Look Out Kindergarten, Here I Come. And they become an Imagination Library graduate. So if you go to the next one, so in Colorado, the great thing is the state has actually sponsored this on a statewide level. So they're paying half of the cost of the books for the kids. And then the local affiliate, what we do is we promote the program here locally, and we pay for the other half of the cost for the books. And then Dolly Parton does the national and international scene. They do all the admin work, they pick the books, they deal with the mailings and all that kind of stuff. Move on. We're going to go through the next one real quick. This is just a few examples of the books that go out, and if you go to the next one, you'll actually see a whole list. So all the books are age appropriate, so each child is placed into their individual age group, so when they get their book, it's appropriate for their age. They pick new books each year. You can see, so the red dots are going to be books that are new to the program this year. The blue plus signs are going to be books that are in Spanish and English. They try really hard to be very inclusive with the books that they choose and offer both Spanish and English as much as they can. And then if you keep going. So as of August, we have 194 active kids in our community. So we just cover the 81122 zip code, so Bayfield, Vallecito, Gym Village. We've had 34 kids already graduate out. We've mailed out over 2,000 books, and we're at about a third of our eligible kids according to the census that we have covered. This is our second year that we've been doing it. We started right at the very end of 2021. So we're, if you go to the next slide, you can see we're quite a bit ahead of where they expected us to be. So they estimate how quickly kids will sign up when you start the program so you can work on fundraising. So the red line is where they thought we would be. The blue line is where we've been. So you can see that we've really signed up a lot of kids compared to what they expected. And then, so just some fun facts, you know, there's over 2.6 million kids registered in the whole program. We've got over 55,000 kids in Colorado alone that are getting a book every month. They've sent out over 200 million books and counting since the program started in '96. And there's some great studies about how much this program actually helps kids as they're getting ready for preschool and for kindergarten. So studies they've done show that kids are 30% more likely to start school kindergarten ready when they've been in this program. And Colorado is, they're sponsoring even more studies now that we're doing the statewide program, so they can get even more detail about how this is helping kids. Currently, we've got 30 local affiliates in Colorado serving 25 counties. The state's goal is to have the state completely covered, so they've been working towards that. So just some quick numbers. So for the first 7 months of this year, our costs have been around $1,100. I'm estimating another $1,200 for the rest of the year, and that next year our costs would be $5,400 for the year. So that's assuming a 7% monthly increase in kids signing up, which has been our average for this year. And then what that covers is the cost of the book and mailing the book. And it's only $1.10 for both the book and the mailing costs per child per month. So you can really see the money goes a long ways as we're getting kids signed up. And I think that's my last one. I know I went through that super fast, but I know you guys have a lot on your meeting agenda. But I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have something you'd like me to go into more detail about.
No, I think it's a good program. I appreciate you being here,
Yeah.
talking to our board. Board's welcome to make a decision on this now. It is also on our agenda later, but if I'd entertain a motion if anybody would like to or have any questions, we can hash that out now.
I think we're good. I did just notice Katie on our allocation list here. This is the last $1,000 request, isn't it? Didn't we give the other one to Heritage Days?
We did. What we have is two $500 grants after. If you approve this tonight, you have two $500 grants and four $250 grants still available.
Okay.
And I have another organization that has some interest. And then you have the student grants. I think we have about $700 available there, but I'm getting a little more because they're getting active again, so.
Okay. I was just curious, yeah, because I was looking at this and it should be had two left, but
Yep.
it is just one. Okay. Any other questions from me?
Would you like to, is the board ready to make a decision at this time? We can go ahead and do that now if we want.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve $1,000 grant to the Imagine Library grant request.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes.
Thank you,
All
Sarah.
right, thank you so much. All right, moving on to energy performance contracting. Nicole.
Yes, good evening. So Katie and myself and Joe met a couple weeks ago with McKinstry, their company that works with municipalities, other government agencies. They've done work with the city of Durango. They're working with the Bayfield School District, and they do what's called energy performance contracting. And we did attach an overview of that agenda. I just wanted to kind of go through a few quick points with you all of what this actually is and what it could mean for the community. And so energy performance contracting, in a nutshell, the big picture is that you can look at, they would do an audit for us of all our facilities, so all our buildings in the town that the town owns, and look at where we're losing energy efficiencies or where we might have deferred maintenance issues like new roofs, HVAC systems, and things like that that can help save energy. And they would provide us an audit. The audit, if we enter into an energy performance contract with McKinstry, the audit's covered into that, and I'll explain that in a little more detail. If we decide we just want the audit and then we decide we don't want to do anything else after that with them right now, then we do have to pay 30 cents a square foot for that audit. So if we had 100,000 square feet, it's $30,000 for an audit. And what the audit will tell us is where our inefficiencies are, where some of our maintenance needs are in our buildings, boilers, HVAC, solar, water heaters, heat pumps, insulation, windows, ceiling, the ceiling, not a ceiling, but ceiling of a building. To make it more efficient. I'm trying to explain that. I like caulking and things like that. So there's different things that the audit will look at for each building and facility, and then they'll make some determinations of where we will save in energy cost, where we could possibly put in additional energy efficient systems like solar panels or heating pumps or things like that that would actually bring our energy costs down. And then what you do is you look at funding for this. We can look at grants, we can look at bonding. There's different things that you can look at to fund it. And the way you cover that funding is through your energy savings. And so you're not actually paying out in the long term funding. You're actually, say we save, $5,000 a month, which that's probably a high number, but say we save $5,000 a month on our energy by doing all of these things for our buildings. That payment that we put into, doing a new HVAC system and redoing the roof and adding solar, what that cost us, we pay over maybe a 20-year period based on the savings of that energy. So if our bill goes from $10,000 to $5,000, that $5,000 pays it off until it's paid off, and then once it's paid off, it's ours. And so that's how energy performance contracting works. And it's just a way that we can look at some cost savings for, again, more efficient buildings, deferred maintenance, but also paying that over time through just energy savings for those buildings. And so we just wanted to give you an update of what we're talking about with them. There is a process for the audit, so we would need to come back to you if it's something that you're interested in pursuing. Because again, if we end up not going through the performance contracting, we'll end up having to pay for that audit in the future once it's completed. And there's also, we need to work with the Colorado Energy Office. They're the ones who oversee this program, and McKinstry is one of their contractors that would come in and do all the work for us, do the audit, and they guarantee that savings too. So if they say you're going to save $3,000 a month, they guarantee that for the lifetime of the energy performance contract. So if they're off, it's on them, not on the town. I don't know, Katie, if you wanted to add anything
So
to that.
the Bayfield School District is looking at the same engineering firm, and so there will be some cost savings for them to be here in Bayfield, and they are also working with the city of Durango as well. So there is,
Yeah.
there is some cost savings for them doing, more public buildings than just the town's buildings.
Yeah, I was just wondering, were you still there? Were you still in
I worked
Durango
with
for part of
them,
this?
yeah.
I mean, we already know we have issues. We know we have a lot of things that are causing us a lot of money. Faulty equipment. I mean, I like the fact that we can go out for, there's money available to go out for, but.
So if you notice how many times the fans shut on
Oh,
and shut
yeah.
off in
No,
here?
it's- I mean, I think it's responsible to look into it.
So if we don't have anything that they can help us with,
We lost you, Brenna.
on what is the exact cost, and do we have it in the budget?
Can you repeat that? Because we,
Hear me now?
yeah, can you repeat that?
Yes, yes. So if we don't have anything that we can save money on, what is it gonna cost, and do we have enough money in the budget for that?
So like I said, it's 30 cents a square foot. I don't know actually how many buildings we'd be looking at and what the square footage is. Do you have any idea, Katie?
So I think what we would probably do is the next step is if there's interest, we would bring you back more official, square footage, what the buildings look like, where we would need to start, and then determine, you would still have another approval process they send us contracts, they send us documents that we would have to, you would actually have to approve. So this is just kind of the first step. If you're interested, we'll gather all of that information, including any budget. If it's 30 cents a square foot, we'll tell you what it could potentially cost.
I mean, I don't think it hurts
I
to,
would be happy to hear more.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, agreed.
okay.
We'll do that.
Is that all the direction you need on that?
Yes.
All right. At this time, I will go ahead and pause the regular meeting and open up the public hearing on the Lions Club Special Event Liquor License. The packet is in your packet here. And we do have a representative from the Lions Club.
Good evening. I am Phyllis Rhodes, 391 County Road 520, representative of the Lions Club and our event for the beer garden at Bayfield Heritage Days. Jay is also a member, and he's here to answer any questions as well.
And there's not baseball or anything going on that field that day? Okay.
No, we suspend soccer for that weekend just because of Heritage
All of
Days.
it, okay.
Yeah, because, we're going to be running 5 fields at a time over there,
Yeah.
so.
And I think I already talked to Mark, making sure the sprinklers aren't running that day or the day night before.
I forgot about that last year. Oh. I think the only thing, we just had this discussion with Rotary was about those gates. There was that got remedied. So just making sure that those gates.
I mean, I'm open to, again, I requested like the week of, not the week before. Anytime that week I can be available just to make sure that we're all on the same page. And if there's any issues, I'm more than happy to chain it up, do whatever we need to do to get those dugouts locked up.
And then, did I see, are you having a band in there?
No.
Okay. Because that's.
The band will be outside. Again, I know this is difficult on how this has been created and how it happened, but last week's meeting, there was actually talk of arm wrestling, maybe happen inside that. I said, if you can do it, fine. If not, I'm not doing it.
I mean, I think.
But we'll see.
I think that's a whole nother insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I'm not confident that they'll get it
Yeah.
together, but
So I think the one issue is about making sure that alcohol is not taken out of that enclosure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and just a warning.
yeah. We've been aware of that. This has only been like our second or third time with it.
All right, does the board have any other questions? Staff has any,
You have to open it up to the public too, if there's any public that has.
we have any public comment? Okay, we will close the public hearing.
Thank
And
you.
we'll revisit this on the agenda. Next, we have our liquor license action agenda. Do we have any other public input pertaining to items 4A through E on the agenda? If not, we will, Lions Club Special Event Liquor License.
That was fast.
If the board has no further comments or questions, we could entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve this special event liquor license for the Lions Club on September 30th during the Heritage Days event.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to our Chavalos Mexican Restaurant Beer and Wine License. Staff have anything to add to?
So I'd like to say that our new town clerk is sending out notices about the renewals to significant department heads, and really appreciate the fact that there has been no comments on Chavalos from our police department or from the other department directors.
All right, I entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Chavalo's license renewal.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to Hong's Garden liquor license renewal.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Hong's license renewal.
I second that.
Did,
Second?
did we have any staff input on that? We're all good.
The comments from the town clerk are that the staff recommends approval of the renewed based on all information submitted.
All right, and we have a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call, please.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to Taco Boy. Same thing, everything's,
There's a couple
Good
that
to
are
go.
out of order, but Taco Boy is the same, that there's staff that is recommending approval of this renewal for Taco Boy.
yeah, any questions?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Taco Boy license renewal.
I'll
Second.
that.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Trustee Moreland,
Can you hear us, Brenna? We're not hearing you.
Yes.
There you go.
Said yes.
Okay. There you go.
Trustee Cesaro, all right, and
Yes.
Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, and tequilas. Liquor license renewal.
Staff recommends approval of the renewal based on all information submitted.
All right, I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Tequila's little license renewal.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. Sorry. Okay, moving on. Did everybody see their name on attendance in the work session roster? It's on page 38 of your packet. If that is correct, I would entertain a motion to approve the August 14th budget work session roster as provided.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget work session roster as provided for August 14th.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes?
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. And did everybody get a chance to look over the minutes from August 15th, 2023?
Yes. Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the August 15th minutes as provided by Town Clerk Hayden.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes?
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. All right, moving on to our town manager report. Katie?
Yes, so I just want to, I'm very transparent, you know, there's been a couple, this transition, there's been a lot, some chaos, sometimes a lot of chaos, but I think, you know, I really appreciate the leadership, basically moving forward. I talk about gnashing of teeth because it's kind of like, oh, can we really do this? But, you know, we're really pulling through. There's been some changes. It's just great to have an HR director. You know, the staff that we have on, especially the newer staff, it's great. We're all working together. There's been, you know, I think it's still trying to figure out those connections. You know, what is the old town clerk going to do? What's the new town clerk going to do? What's that person supposed to do? So we're still kind of figuring out those connections and processes and everything else. You know, but we're really propelling forward. So I really appreciate the leadership team and, you know, especially the admin team as we've kind of come together and realized, you know, that, you know, it's a different working environment, but it's really going well. So we do understand the hard realization the sales tax doesn't pass. There's going to be a lot of cuts, and, you know, it's going to, you know, the services that we've depended on, you could come to an end. And it's not a threat. It's just one of those things that we have to really look at it honestly to see really where we're at with our budget and revenues as well. So I've got some dates in there. I verified on Tuesday, September 19th. We would like to kind of start at 5:30. Because you will be looking at basically budget A and budget B. We will try to provide dinner those next two nights, the 19th and the 3rd, because I have a feeling that Plan A will probably be something that will be that really need to go through, and Plan B will obviously have revenue that will be able to support some of the activities of our community as well. So I just want to make sure that 5:30 is not too early.
I mean, those guys that have to come from
And we'll have
Durango.
Kristen
Yeah.
get kind of a light meal. We'll try to make it kind of lighter. Hopefully it's there and ready. So anyway, we'll see if we can't work that out. It just tonight was just too many other things going on, so.
All good.
All right. The Bayfield Heritage Days, you did get a white envelope, or some of you did, regarding the request to donate to Bayfield Heritage Days, and I do have an address. I guess Phyllis has left. It's the official address is 391 County Road 520 in Bayfield. And also, I've been looking at the Via Cedar Reservoir Recreation Management Plan, and this is what I was actually looking for, is basically something about recreation, and this is our drinking water for the town and for Ignacio as well. So I did send some edits, quite a few edits that were more formatting, but this is what I was looking for to make sure that this was added to their plans. So they are looking for all comments on their plan by the 15th of September, just so you're aware of that date.
So the Heritage Days, and I don't know, maybe Marion, you can answer that. They do have an account. They can cash a check if it's made out to Bayfield Heritage Days. Because I think I made mine out to Lions Club before, and they handled it, so I wasn't sure.
Well,
Yeah, that'd be great, because we all got a packet. We had some other businesses that were asked.
So I don't think that they're, I don't know, assertively seeking donations at this time. I think everything's been covered. So I'm not exactly sure what got sent around to the board, to the town trustees, but, so it is not officially a nonprofit registered with the IRS. Everybody knows I have been helping various organizations in Bayfield get caught up with that.
It was a rough few years.
There were a few dry years, a lot of organizations fell apart. But they do have an account over at TBK, under the fiscal, umbrella of Rotary Club at this time. So I think donations can be made, but they're not tax deductible donations. It's just from the good of your heart if you want to make them. But I don't think that they're sort of aggressively seeking donations at this time, just because I think they've got stuff covered. And then we're all going to regroup. I wish Phyllis was here because she knows all the details. But I think we're going to regroup, after recovering from September 30th and sort of figure out where things go from here.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. All right, does the board have any questions for Katie?
So we are working on the card security. We'll sit down with the leadership team tomorrow regarding the leadership. The senior center, is remodeling. It doesn't really go exactly as you planned. The parking lot looks awesome. It's got new black surface, sealed and slurry sealed and painted. And of course, the inside is looking better, but it still has a ways to go. So we've delayed the opening until September 12th as we're moving forward. And the only other thing that I couldn't get to you on Friday or Thursday when I sent the agenda out is that we did have Senators Cleve Simpson and Jeff Bridges and Representative McLaughlin at the Cinnamon Heights. I thought it was a very positive meeting regarding Cinnamon Heights and what we're doing, and I think we quizzed them, or maybe we should say we gave them some issues, especially regarding land banking. The definition of land banking is not 1 year, and I think they were a little surprised. So they were going to go back and look at the House bill, and they think that it was administratively 1 year, which to me and most of us don't think that we would go to a bank for 1 year at a time to bank. So anyway, but I thought it was very positive, and there were community members there as well.
And as far as the senior center, is that going to affect our CML
No.
meeting? Okay.
There's concern about cleaning the commercial kitchen, which will probably all happen after, the 8th or 9th and 11th.
Okay. Any questions, comments? We'll move on to our park director report. Mark, you're up.
So for the month of August, we've still been continuing to maintain grounds and lawn maintenance in all 7 of our parks. Still sanitizing and removing trash, keeping our bathrooms clean. Softball has came to an end, so we no longer are having to prep fields for softball. We have transitioned into soccer, so last week we got all the soccer fields striped and all the goals out. I have seen a lot of improvement from what Horizon Environmental did. It's not nearly as patchy as it was. It's a lot fuller. We still do have some spots that we're struggling to get. The grass just did not germinate that they put out, so we're working on that as still. Been working on irrigation, fixing repairs, leaks, sprinkler heads. We did have a water main leak at Eagle Park, which the Public Works crew took care of that very next Monday, so they got that fixed very quickly. We appreciate that. We do have a water leak at the library park, which is underneath a concrete slab where the backflow device is. We have been in touch with the library and putting a plan together to try and, it's for the water fountain, so the water's shut off, but there is a main line break there, so they have not had a water fountain. So we're looking into getting a contractor to repair that. We're gonna have to demo concrete and get in there and fix the line and replace the concrete. I did go to playground training a week ago, which Katie has in the packet. Learned quite a bit. It was kind of eye-opening. We have been doing a lot of things correctly, but there are a lot of things to the current standards that we are not doing. So to protect us, liability-wise and keep our kids safe, I do think it's a good idea to get on track with the rest of the country and be, up to code with what they require us to do as far as playground safety. And fall's arriving, so we'll be monitoring the weather, be closing bathrooms as soon as temperature starts to drop and draining irrigation. We did lose both our seasonals, so now it's just me and Ben, so we're trying to keep up. Any questions for Parks?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have our town clerk, resource, recreation. Dustin.
Well, I was going to read my script, but for a minute, I'd just like to appreciate Mark and his crew. If you guys have been to a softball game, been over those softball fields and the soccer fields, they look great. For considering it's basically been him and Ben, they've been doing a hell of a job. So just want to shout that out. So that goes right into it. Is that time of year. Fall sports, actually practices started today. So we had the little kids, the fun team over at Eagle Park, and we have the big field set up for practice. Our first set of games is this Saturday. We had 230 kids sign up. Unfortunately, I did have to cancel one league. I canceled the 5th and 6th grade flag football. We only had 7 kids that signed up for that, which is only enough for one team. So we haven't had anybody to play. A former recreation director told me that's because at that age, most of those kids go to Yoffle in Durango. So not uncommon there. We did open registration up for 5th and 6th grade basketball. It runs from now until October 1st. So spread the word for me out there. We did do a flyer and a massive shout out through what we have called MailChimp that emails everybody on the Parks and Director list. So we've had almost 2 teams sign up for that. I'd like to get at least a couple more kids and we'll have at least 2 teams already for that. So we're off to a good start there. Sent out some notes through that MailChimp for coaches. We were really down a lot of coaches. I think I started as about 15, 16 coaches short, but I've gotten amazing response from all that and actually have all my coaching positions filled. So that's a great job for the community to rally around that for the kids. I do need a couple more referees. I found out through the HR director that historically we've been able to have teenage kids referee games. But according to state labor laws, you have to be 16 now to be an official referee. You can be 15 and be a helper. So I do have a couple of those that I'm bringing on staff, just to be helpers mostly for the preschool and the kindergarten games, because they don't really need referees. They just need to know what right direction to go and chase the ball for them. So if you guys haven't ever watched that, it's really good entertainment. So we wrapped up the softball tournaments. No incidents to report. We did have about a 20-minute lightning delay that night, so I didn't know if we were going to get the games in, but we were able to. Everybody had a great time. We did, however, run out of some of the tournament shirts. I do have some more on ordered with half-price tees, and I have all their contact info as well. Then on the clerk side of it, as you saw on the agenda, we got a lot of liquor license coming in and I expect probably 1 or 2 more for the next meeting. So I saw all those got approved, so I will be in contact with the state on those. Bayfield Heritage Days did submit all their special event packet completed with parade routes, rental forms, and everything's been done on that and sent to all the directors. And I believe it was in your packet. If not this week, it was last time. So, okay, and I'm planning on attending their meetings, their last couple meetings heading into it, just so they have any concerns, they can hear it straight from me or ask me questions. So I'm planning on attending those on Monday. And I was going to have a quick meeting as we got closer with all the directors just to make sure, we're all on the same page. Nothing new to that. Corey and Jeremy, his team, they've done it before. They all know what they're doing there. So that should be a fairly easy meeting. And that's about it. Any questions for me?
Oh, thank you.
Anybody want to coach soccer or referee? All right, just thought I'd try.
All right.
Okay, next is the award by the Sonoran Institute.
Yes, and so I know I mentioned this a couple weeks ago to the board, but I've been talking to the Sonoran Institute. They do a water-wise workshop. They do 2 a year in the state of Colorado. They've never done one in Southwest Colorado. So I reached out and said, hey, we'd be happy to host it down here. I know that our Board of Trustees is looking at water conservation as a top issue going into 2024. And while they are not prepared to do one down here, they said that they offer 2 communities a year essentially free technical assistance with WaterWise and WaterSmart conservation when it comes to land use and water. And they told me to go ahead and apply for that. And so I did, and we got it. And so we will be one of 2 communities starting in September of 23 to September of 2024, where we're going to get many hours of technical assistance to look at a couple things I asked them. Number 1 is just looking at water and land use and how we plan moving forward, especially during drought years, to make sure that we are doing everything we can to secure appropriate water for our community, as well as water landscaping and water conservation, things that we can do, policies that we can set in place moving forward in the future. Not just for drought, but for every time, all year long. So, I know water landscaping was something that came up in some of your budget discussions, and so having them help us put together some policies for that as well. There will be community involvement, so there'll be some meetings that they'll help host, and really they're doing a lot of the process for me as an extension of staff, and then I can just provide some of the technical knowledge from the town, as well as Jeremy's involvement will be also a requirement as part of this process. So I just wanted to let you know we're one of 2 in the state, so that's pretty exciting for that opportunity. And if you're all okay, we'll go ahead and sign the agreement to move forward.
Yeah.
It's free, by the way.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, well, we're moving on to our financial action agenda. Do we have any public input on items 6A, C, or D?
So, can I speak again? I'm not sure that this fits within your agenda item, and it's probably out of order and stuff, but I want to clarify what I said before about Heritage Days.
Yeah, just
Is that okay?
name and address for the record.
Okay, Marion Tone, 1495 County Road 526, and I spoke earlier and did not identify myself, so sorry about that. The way that I understand the money that's working for Bayfield Heritage Days is the last meeting, the town board approved some funds for that event because of the fee structure that had gone into place in July. And so
when I said I think we've got things covered, there's a couple donations that did come in, but I do know that the Heritage Days people are still planning on that assistance from the town. So when I said what I said, I was in my mind assuming that that town grant was still happening, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That hasn't changed. We just
Okay.
all received letters.
Yeah,
For
So-
sponsorships.
And so we
Yes.
were like, okay,
So
but
we should, so there's
So,
still
okay,
getting
so let me-
sponsorships, not
this
donations,
is on
right?
top of, yeah.
so separate from what the town board approved, yeah, one of the, I mean, Heritage Day is just a loose group of people. There's, so people do things. And I think Kim, had put together a really great sponsorship letter. I don't know if that's what you got. I got a copy. I think that was probably really well-intentioned, but a little bit premature. And so I think for now, if you want to make a donation, donations are absolutely accepted, but we're not doing a sort of a structured, you're gold or silver or whatever we were going to call them. We were going to come up with creative names that matched Heritage Days. But, so I don't think it's as structured as that letter. That letter basically has kind of been put on the side for now, that sponsorship letter. But if anybody wants to make a donation, money can always be put to use for a program like this, so.
Thank you for clarifying that.
All right, thank you. And I know everybody's very excited about the program and the parade, so come to the parade.
Okay.
Thanks, thank you.
All right. Did everybody get a chance to look at the August 2023 disbursement? And Kathy, if you have anything to add? There are no questions. I would entertain a motion to accept the August 2023 disbursements.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the August 2023 disbursements.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, we're moving on to our mineral and severance tax fund depository modification and management.
Yeah, so I provided an image, it's not in the packet, it's actually in my notes and recommended motions regarding Town Manager LeMay, who basically suggested that the severance and tax be moved into either the street fund or the capital improvement fund. We don't find any official documentation from the board, although the budget is an official document that was approved by the Board of Trustees, so it was moved into the capital improvement fund. That's where it still is. We don't have an issue with capital improvements basically coming out of the fund, but we do have some concerns about our general fund operational revenue. And so the fluctuation does happen. It's very real about fluctuation, and in the other local governments I worked at, is what we would do is we don't know what that revenue is until August, and it's not deposited until September. And so what we would like to do is, with your approval, is move the mineral and severance tax into the general fund deposited this year. And then as we work through the budget season, basically, you can make that determination if you would like to consider it as revenue for the following year or revenue for this year. That is certainly up to you. There's a lot of information about mineral and severance tax. The capital improvement fund only budgeted $15,000. After COVID, it was really difficult to tell what that was going to look like. But it's $221,000 over the revenue that was considered. So the capital improvement fund is not hurting, but I prefer that the full amount be deposited. It all is deposited in our checking account, but it would be identified as revenue in the general fund.
Any questions on that? Brenna, you got some questions on that?
No?
No, I have no questions.
Yep. Go ahead, Lori.
No, I said I have no questions.
Oh, you have no questions. I thought you said you had a question. Okay.
Nope.
I'd like to make a motion to identify the severance and mineral revenue in September 2023 in the general fund.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Wolf?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Ah?
Yay.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. Okay, moving on to the RV park flume meter install. Jeremy, is this your department?
Yeah, this is us. So, this is a budgeted capital improvement item in the sewer fund. And so, and this is RV Park Flume. This is the previously Max RV Park, now Outdoorsy Bayfield. So this measuring device would be installed across the street in Roadside Park. We'd like to put in a measuring device to see that seasonal impact on the sewer collection system. So we received 2 bids that were complete, one from Fast Track and one from Alpine Enterprises. Alpine was the lowest bidder. They're also a local contractor, and so we would like to award the project to them, with your approval, of course.
And they're just gonna go under the road, right? They're just,
Yeah, so you know where the old kiosk was for the Chamber of
Yeah.
Commerce building? It's going to be right to the west of that. So there's power available, and that's where the
Okay.
actual measuring device will be installed. And then that'll give us real-time flow measurements from the RV park. Because right now, we're quantifying all of the flows. Well, we're not quantifying the flows from the RV park for seasonal usage. And so this would be some valuable information for the treatment process, is why we want to install it.
any questions from the board?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award Alpine Enterprises the RV park flume meter install for $17,765.
Second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Wolf?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Ah?
Yay.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to our action agenda. We have items 7A through D. And just seeing if anybody has any public input on those items. If not, we'll move on to the, oh,
You got one.
yes. Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Joyce Cohen, and my address is 20 Creekside Drive, Durango, Colorado. And I was here several weeks ago talking to you about the pet store ordinance. And I thank you, first of all, for putting it on the agenda to consider. I wanted to be here primarily to see if you had any questions or concerns. I did have a few things I'd like to say, because obviously last time I only had 3 minutes, so there's a lot that I didn't get to. And I certainly won't take up too much of your time tonight. I want you to know that I have a wealth of information. I didn't want to inundate you with just too much via email. But anything I tell you, I certainly have facts to support, and we'll be happy to provide them to you if you'd like. But for now, I just wanted to address a couple of things that I have run into time and time again when I go to towns. And the first thing is always, we don't have a pet store here. Why do we need this? And I know I addressed this last time, but I really can't stress to you enough that the importance of passing this before a pet store comes to town and wants to open. Once that happens, it is too late. Mancos and Aurora just passed the ordinance. That was great news. And so that we're hoping that this is getting enough momentum. They've joined several other towns, of course, that have passed this, so that the state will pass this on a statewide basis. So that is another reason to pass this, even though Bayfield does not have a pet store that sells puppies and kittens. It is a dying model. 24 out of the 25 major pet store chains do not sell puppies and kittens. You know, PetSmart, Petco, they hold adoption events, of course, through the humane societies or local shelters, which of course reduces the number of animals in the shelters. It's a win-win. Another thing that I have come across time and time again is that, you know, people don't like to put unnecessary regulation on businesses. And unfortunately, when a business exploits a population or acts irresponsibly, or in this case, reprehensibly, the free market just doesn't take care of it, and as we would hope it would. And so the government necessarily does have to sometimes step in to correct this. You know, hopefully one day people will be educated enough to know that they shouldn't buy from pet stores. But until that happens, the government needs to protect those who cannot protect themselves. In this case, not just the animals, but also unsuspecting consumers. I didn't have time to get into this last time, but the Center for Disease Control has actually recommended that people do not buy animals from pet stores. Because the puppies come from these mills and the parents of these animals are treated so poorly and don't get proper veterinary care, the puppies are often sick. Now, these pet stores charge incredibly high prices for these animals, and then they'll even put you on a payment plan and charge really high interest rates. So people are shelling out tons of money for these animals, and oftentimes just wind up having to take them to the vet. And then they incur large vet bills. There's been several stories about families who buy an animal, get attached to the animal, and the animal dies because they're treated so, the parents of the animals are treated so poorly in these puppy mills. Another misconception is that, well, pet stores say, oh, well, we can buy from reputable breeders. And unfortunately, the way it works is a pet store will say, you know, I need 3 Shih Tzus, 3 of these, 3 of these, 3 of these. And they go through brokers. And the brokers then get whatever they need from puppy mills all over the country and have them trucked in to the pet stores in cages, sometimes taking several days. And that way, the pet store gets the dogs that and cats that they need. That is it's not a viable business model for them to buy from local breeders. They just can't get the inventory that they need. I had mentioned that last time I was here that there are lobbyists that may or may not have contacted you, and these are paid people to advocate on behalf of pet stores, not pets. And one thing that they will tell you is that the AKC, the American Kennel Club, says it's okay for pet stores to sell these. Well, the AKC makes tons of money off of puppy mills because they're purebreds, and so they all register with the AKC. What they don't tell you is that the individual breed clubs in the AKC, 95% of the individual breed clubs have in their code of ethics that they shall not sell to pet stores. And again, I can provide you with this information. And those are obviously the people who actually care about the dogs. So I, again, would love to answer any questions that you have. I can provide you with any information you need. I can provide you with ordinances that the other towns have passed, and model ordinances that the Humane Society has put out as well. Does anybody have any questions for me?
No, I think there was a good packet there,
Yeah,
some good
there's a good
supporting,
packet.
supporting letters as well. So.
Oh, good, okay. I have my cohorts working for me.
Does the board have any questions while we?
Okay, well, Katie has my information. If you need anything, happy to provide it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're on the bill of sale for the jet rotter.
Yeah, so Town Attorney Goldman did give me some edits to consider. So I printed those out for you and it's kind of a unique situation. Our Public Works Director is an Ignacio trustee, and the town of Bayfield would like to sell to the town of Ignacio, and I felt that maybe a bill of sale, basically, that's executed by our mayor, and then, of course, we'll deliver title and truck once we get a check that clears, so.
Yeah, jet router is kind of a very specific piece
It's
of
very specific.
machinery.
Yeah, you're not,
too many
I'm not
people are
gonna
looking for
go
one.
down to the dealership and buy a jet rotor for my home.
We just wanted to be super transparent on the whole trace of the
That's
the
correct.
sale on that. So we're bringing it to the board, and just if the board has any questions, the updates are in writing on the bill of sale.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Mayor Tarkington to execute the bill of sale for the jet router.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, resolution 583, the Police Scholarship Fund.
I may let Chief Hogue discuss this one.
So within the budget, there's a line item for the scholarship fund, and it was named for the Bayfield Marshal's Office. So since we're realigning ourselves or rebranding ourselves, so we discussed that we need to rebrand the scholarship and redesign it for all first responders, not just law enforcement. We wanted to add fire, EMS, and other first responders that help the public in general. So we wanted to expand who could apply for it and be awarded it, and then also rename it properly to the police department.
Look at you playing nice with all the other entities in town, huh?
So the only thing else that was added is basically if there's contests, the police department considers contest, that this fund could be used specifically for that as well. There's certainly different amounts in the actual page. The actual last page of the packet, page 72, kind of outlines what it can be used for. And this would be just a little official. We have always kind of informally identified this as restricted funds. From what I understand, they were selling buttons and pins and other things that were making, $1.50, $3, $4 here and there, basically to increase this fund. But we had never really adopted it as a restricted fund. So this resolution would make that more formal.
No, I like that. Anybody have any questions on resolution 583? I would entertain a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 583, Bayfield Police Scholarship Fund.
Have a
I
motion?
second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to the pet store regulation interest to move forward with our ordinance.
So I appreciate the information that we've received about, this ordinance and how to benefit our community. The town is also working on a comp plan, and with that comp plan will be an assortment of ordinances, basically to comply or at least consistent with the comp plan update. And because we're kind of at the edge of approving that, I think there's probably a little process. Maybe the comp plan group should review this consideration and also the planning commission before, we proceed. And maybe it's lumped together with, all of the ordinances that we do as we're going through this, so that it's kind of a really consistent, what we're dealing with first and next and next. And community development, Killian could determine kind of where that fits in that next line of priorities.
What's the feeling, what's the temperature of the board on this ordinance? Is this something you feel strongly about, something, I mean, where do you?
I feel strongly about it, and I would like for it to happen as soon as possible. I would pick option number 1.
Me too.
How,
I'm really glad that this was brought to our attention, and I appreciate, I appreciate swift action.
Nicole, how does this throw you? I mean, you have your working group tomorrow night,
Mhm.
and then you're
Yes.
looking to go to the planning commission next week. Does this,
Well, I'm looking to go to the planning commission and come back to the board in October with the comp plan update, and then from there, start a series of code changes.
so we can put this on the radar and have it,
Yeah.
not to throw you in a, you know.
Yeah, we can look at it as we start looking at all those code changes, if you wanna do it in that sequence with everything else that's gonna be coming.
Is the land use gonna strictly state the specifics of something of this nature?
We'll
I
have to
don't
kind of work
think it
through
would.
that, and maybe with town council, because it may be more of a municipal code. I have to think through it a little bit more, because land use is really the use, and if we're allowing pet stores, that would be the use, and so I'd have to think through it a little bit more. But either way, we can still do text amendments for the muni code at the same time we're doing land use code.
Okay.
I'm okay if we have to wait while you're doing the land use code, just so you're not double working this, but I would like this to be a priority in that land use code.
I mean,
Not shoved to the end of it.
yeah, I think that she's saying that's doable. I think that's I just don't want to inundate her with. I mean, is that, board's good with that?
Yep.
Is that direction enough?
So
or-
as soon as possible, but with a little bit,
Of
it'd be a priority within the ordinance considered under land use. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Maybe not immediately, but as soon as
On the
possible,
radar.
right
Yeah,
after.
like the first set of changes, we'll have multiple sets.
Okay.
Yes.
Good? Everybody good?
Yep.
All right. Playground safety.
So I think that when we start looking at our assessment or assess our playgrounds and safety and basically determining our compliance, there are going to be times we're going to have to close a playground. And of course, closing a playground, they'll come to you and say, why is that closed? So I just want to make sure that there was some concern that if we didn't check out to see what it's going to cost, that maybe, determining if it costs too much, maybe we shouldn't have a standard operating procedures. I call it an SOP. And if it doesn't cost so much, then we would have a standard operating procedure. I just really kind of think I just want to make sure that you're from the board, it's clear that we should have a standard operating procedures and basically do the assessment based on our operating procedures and determine if we do have to close a park or maybe, take a swing down because it doesn't comply with some certain safety standards. Just want to make sure, kind of run that by the Board of Trustees.
Is that something that would be in compliance or at least aligned with the training that Mark received
That's
last
correct.
week? Okay.
And I'm not too sure why that they weren't allowed to do playground training, but how many playgrounds do we have in comparison to some of the bigger cities?
I mean, we got what, 5 playgrounds. Like Glenwood Springs was there. They had, 7. Of course, you're bigger, like Denver. They've got a ton of them. But there's no Colorado legislation that we can follow for a guideline. So this class, they had 2 different entities. One is a federal guideline, and the other one is just a voluntary standard of care that you can follow. But for us to be in compliance with those, we have to go through and assess all of our playgrounds and ADA compliance. And if they are not in compliance, then we have to modify them or close them. So whether we want to maybe look at it and get a cost analysis of what it would take to make it compliant and then adopt an SOP, or if we want to just go right into it and try to, you know, have a policy that we follow for playground safety.
Don't we have SURSA that,
SURSA does do our audit, and so we are doing some, like I said earlier, we're doing some things right. You know, we do almost a daily inspection, you know, for keeping it sanitary, removing debris, and then we do a monthly inspection where we go through all the equipment and check. And then SURSA does do our audit. These two different entities recommend it, like a third party, hiring somebody out to come and assess it as well. But SURSA, they're not trained. You know, they do point out some safety hazards, but they're not doing it up to, you know, a standard guideline.
Is there any incentive if we were to follow this in regard to a reduction in insurance or cost of insurance? Like if we bring it up to these standards and shell out expense to get up to guidelines that are not state regulated, is there a potential for reduction in
You're going to
insurance
see
costs?
some in property insurance, but not a whole lot. What you're going to do is avoid legal liability, or somebody does get hurt, or they lose a finger or whatever else. So that's what you'd like to avoid. And we'd like to keep our kids safe too.
Sure.
When it does come, you know, to a lawsuit in court, these are the guidelines that the lawyers are going to use. So, and to me, it did open my eyes. I didn't realize kids were, you know, being strangled, you know, entrapped on playgrounds. I know they fall, they break an arm. You know, we don't want any sharp objects or protrusions. We've been doing that, but there's a lot of other, you know, guidelines as far as measurements. And most of our playgrounds are new, and manufacturers and installers are on board with this. So hopefully our newer playgrounds are in compliance. ADA compliance, I think, is going to be our biggest issue.
oh, I mean, I guess I have a question for Michael. I mean, as far as a legal standpoint on this, what is our best course of action? As long as we have an SOP based on these recommendations, we're covered, or, you know, staff is asking, should we go out and get a cost estimate on fixing all these things and then have an SOP based on that? So,
Well, in essence, I think your question was spot on with regards to CIRSA. CIRSA does do risk analysis. I'm well aware of their having come in and suggested that merry-go-rounds go by the wayside. That was about 20 years ago, because people were losing their fingers, kids specifically. You don't see a lot of monkey bars and things like that because of these risk assessments. Yeah, manufacturers today are taking the cautionary approach. Never resolves the situation where you could be sued. But a lot of the defense often comes to the fore when you are aware of a problem and you didn't correct it. So the more you do to educate yourself, or the town to educate itself with regards to potential dangerous products that are out there, the better off it might be with regards to any potential defenses in correcting those potential problems, those dangerous conditions, as they're often referred to, and sometimes attractive nuisances.
So it almost sounds like we kind of have to go at least the route of getting assessment, right?
I mean,
Weren't there two levels? One was the assessment level, and then there was a.
there's the U.S. Consumer Safety Commission's Public Playground Safety Handbook.
Then there was another one.
There's the ASTM, which is a standard, voluntary standard of care, and they have very similar codes to the CPSC. I think for a legal standpoint, the CPSC is a federal guideline, so
Oh.
it's, you know, I would go towards more that route, as far as a legal standpoint. Basically, what I would need to do is go out and assess, you know, based on what I've learned and, you know, the information that I have, what needs to be changed, replaced, and what that cost is gonna be to get us in compliance with these codes.
Mhm.
Okay.
And this, it was redrafted in 2021, so it's fairly current. The oldest was 1991 when this first started.
And so I guess if you come back and say, you know, the park over there in Mesa has this, this, and this going on, we gotta shut it down ASAP
If we
because it's
develop-
non-compliant.
Yeah.
That's where we need our
100
operating
grand
procedure
to-
just,
Yeah,
okay.
that's our place
So,
to start.
yeah.
If we adopt this SOP, yes, we would have to be in compliance, and if it means shutting it down and fixing it, then that's what we'd have to do.
I mean, I this is not my area of expertise, but I would defer to, you know, what you've learned and what.
So we have to be in compliance, or it's optional to be in compliance?
It's optional.
But we should be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I should have prefaced that, but I thought, no, everybody understands that the kids' safety is number one, but, you know, the kids' safety, so we're just at a point now, it's not required to come into compliance. It's a place where we need to start looking at this. And so if you do an assessment, at that point, legally, we might have to close down a park or,
No, I mean, if we adopt an SOP, yes.
Okay.
If we do an assessment, you know, and bring
Then you
back
don't
to
have
you
to.
that information and you make a decision from there, then we go from there.
I would defer to Attorney Goldman on that. I think at that point, if we become aware of a problem,
yeah.
then,
Yes.
you
If
know,
there-
I mean,
Yeah.
I think at that point, we've breached, you know, we've pierced that veil, so.
Have we had any, I mean, on an annual basis, do we get complaints from things in the parks that are hazardous?
Well,
or
complaints,
or-
they're, I don't say that they're minor, but they're minor in our overall operations. I think what we want to avoid is any, you know, I want to say death or, you know,
Injury.
losing an arm or whatever else. You certainly don't want to make the press on that one.
No.
But I think that we should know what playgrounds, I mean, we're just talking about a park sales tax.
Yeah.
And the thing is, shouldn't we know what our parks, you know, are for safety for our kids? Even if you say, did we give Mesa or Eagle Park a and another park a B? You know, why are this one safer or better than the other? And also ADA compliance. What do we need to do to provide accessibility to all?
I mean, is that something we revisit, we just give direction on and we bring this back, or do you?
Well, I wanted to, after the discussion that I had with Mark, I mean, appreciate the fact that he went to training. Most of the training that in the other municipalities that I went to, they determined if there were certain things that were allowable, and, you know, they would either work with CIRSA or they would work with other ADA organizations or the town attorney to determine if there was other accommodations that could be made. So maybe that part can't be ADA compliant, but there's a park maybe down the road in a different neighborhood that provides, you know, that opportunity.
This might be a question for Attorney Goldman. If we adopt the SOPs, the standard operating procedure, do we, at that point, if our if our playgrounds are not in compliance, do we have a period of time that we can correct them? Is there I wouldn't call it a grace period,
I'd
but
like to know specifically what we're talking about when we're talking about a standard operating procedure. It's without knowing what we're talking about.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's a bright line on anything. But generally, again, when we're talking about separating ADA compliance from dangerous conditions, if we're specifically aware, we have knowledge of a dangerous condition with regards to some apparatus in a playground, that should be addressed immediately. And not, there's no time to really
Sure.
let that linger and let somebody perhaps experiment with that. So that's something that has to be dealt with immediately. And so the question always will be, did you know about it? And if you didn't know about it, should you have known about it? So if we have any inkling about any sort of apparatus that is
Failing
dangerous
or-
right now, we should be addressing that right now, regardless of taking care of, addressing standard operating procedures. So I'm not aware of any particular matter in any park right now. Nobody's talked to me about it.
okay. I think we need to at least do the assessment.
Yeah. Just
That's something you can do in-house, Mark? Like coming into the winter months?
It's gonna take time, and as you know, we're very short-staffed. But, I mean, I do have the information to do it. We can also hire out a third party to come in and do the assessment for us.
And again, I'm aware of specifically, there is a resource person at CIRSA who will come and do that audit, and has done it. I'm aware that they've done it for Durango, they've done it for Crested Butte, and they make their findings clear as to what should be addressed.
I would utilize that resource if we're paying them all that money all the time, and we have that resource.
Which they do, they come every year and they look at our playgrounds, and if they find something, that they don't like, they let us know, and then we repair it or replace it. But from what I, learned from these guidelines, I do see, that we could be in non-compliance based on, the information that I've learned with those guidelines. But as far as what CIRSA says, we repair and then we're in compliance.
What kind of items, what kind of items are you talking about that you just learned about that we?
Some of our older playgrounds, like the one over here at Joe Stevenson, it could have some crush and shear issues. There's a bridge that has moving parts, so if kids were to stick their fingers in there while somebody's walking across. But I would have to get the tools that they recommend and go in like a dowel rod, and then have somebody walk back and forth. If it shears the dowel rod, then that's not in compliance. And that is one of our oldest playgrounds. The library, it does have some spinning apparatuses that could have some crush and shear. It is new equipment. For the most part, I think most of our, Eagle is a new playground. Gosney's a new playground, and I think those would all be in compliance as far as the playground equipment. But ADA accessibility, we have no concrete ramps or any way for somebody in a wheelchair to get up and be able to utilize. The other issues I think we have is signage, age, little kids versus big kids. All of our playgrounds are for big kids. They're not for your, 1 to 5-year-old kids. They're your 5 to 12. So we need to get that signage. And signage doesn't, take all the liability out, but, it does give them a guideline of, hey, your little 1-year-old shouldn't be playing on this playground.
Okay.
I mean, what are you?
So what I'm kind of hearing is possibly a walkthrough assessment as much as possibly can be done here in the next couple of months. Maybe identifying, during the budget season, especially identifying really what we could do to bring us up to compliance. Maybe the SOP was a wrong thing to bring up, but determining kind of where we're at as far as an assessment first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll revisit this. We have more information? All right, we'll move on to our ballot action items. We have 8A and B. Do we have any public input on our ballot items? All right. Ordinance 494. And that just came in hot off the presses.
So Town Attorney Goldman, would you explain the approved or disapproved by the voters? That would be at a later date?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we won't know until
Yeah.
the election happens whether there's an approval or disapproval, but that should very specifically be stated so that the record is clear as to what occurred. I might also suggest that right after the itemized list A through H, there is a sentence that says is beneficial to the health and well-being. Perhaps well-being should be hyphenated or two separate words. And then there should be a period at the end of on the third page, right before the second to last paragraph of youth and adult recreation. There should be a period there.
Oh, instead of a comma, period there. Does the board have any questions? I would entertain a motion with the edits.
And a copy was sent to Trustee Moreland and Trustee Zazzaro as well via email.
Okay.
Yes. James?
All right.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve or deny ordinance 494 with the
What's you can either approve or deny.
approve. Sorry, sorry, I was reading too fast. With the edits, do we need to call those edits out?
No, just
Okay.
with the edits.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Roll call.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Nay.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to Resolution 584, the ballot question. Everybody get a chance to look that over?
584, there should be, at the ballot questions, that should be $600,000 as the first sentence in the ballot question itself. Sorry, I missed that one. Make sure there's nothing else in here.
Anything else on there? I don't see anything. If the board is comfortable, I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 584.
And I would suggest that that motion
Include the edit?
include the amendment to 600,000 as opposed to the 300,000 that is documented.
To include the amendment to 600,000, I'm sorry.
Okay. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Thomas,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, everybody. We have, you see your upcoming dates of interest. Do you have any?
So also I did give you a copy of CML, will take a picture for their 100th year in front of Town Hall at 2 o'clock, that Thursday. So we'll post that as well as the, meeting.
All right, and you see our work sessions coming up. If there's nothing else, I will adjourn this meeting. It is 9:05. Ooh.
Was the meeting supposed to start at 4? I had it on my calendar at 6.
Mine at 3, so.
It's at 4.
I had mine at 2.
Two's the picture.
It's at 4 though?
4 o'clock is like the business meeting, and then there's like happy hour and then dinner.
Okay.
And it's at the senior center.
It looked like the break